Okay, chat. We're back, I think. And it looks like my mic's a little louder. I don't know. Maybe it's time for a new mic. I'll give everyone a little moment to get back in here and let everything start back up. Okay, so. Alright, well, we'll roll with it. I tried everything. I can do this, but I don't think this is going to sound good. And Kev, if you can, if you could be my audio guy tonight. I'm gonna turn the gain up, but I have a feeling that's just gonna make all of your ears much more angry. Let me know if this is any better or worse. Nick, what up in chat? Trying to work through some audio issues. Actually, that's better. Usually when I do this, all right, word. I can turn it up even more then. If thanks for the like instant feedback. I really appreciate that. Again, just one more reason why it's good with chat here. Gonna maybe invest in a new mic. One more thing when you're completely broke to go wrong. What up? Hit me with some fat donations tonight, chat. um, but yeah, Nat sounds great. Jersey's great. Thank you. Hair's great. Is it? Feels like it's loud. All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear. What's up, Philadelphia sports fans? This is take two. Again, on board tonight, on topic. We got brought PG. Oh, you bought PGA Tour 2K1? Is it hard as balls? Because I've heard only like challenging things about that game, Joe. I've been deep into Madden because it's fun watching the Eagles succeed. Uh, and hey, they did that this weekend, right? Um, the Jalen Hurts the Jalen Hurts experiment worked for one day. It worked for one game. It worked against the Saints when they were relatively, I don't want to say unplanned, but it was his debut. They had no NFL tape on him, no preseason. Only what 50 plays or snaps that he was in for maybe before that. So so we got the Jalen Hurts Carson Wentz thing to talk about tonight, and we got to set Sixers expectations. And I'll be honest, Chad, you tell me which one do you want first, um, and we'll get into it because with the Sixers, it's gonna be the topic is really gonna be what do we expect from them as a team, and if we want to talk about individuals, we can get down that road as well. Get in my Jalen Hurts jersey Friday. I feel like that's. I feel like when you say, are you getting an actual jersey? Because I know Joe, you're a master of the jersey, which I appreciate. I almost rocked the Ben Simmons jersey tonight, but I was like, this has kind of got a holiday feel to it, so I went with the holiday feel. Um, and maybe next week, or I'll bust out the Simmons jersey for after the new year when we're in deep in the regular season of basketball. And man, I don't know about you guys, like there's a whole, and it's because the Eagles have been so bad this year, but there is just a hole in my heart where the Flyers and Sixers would be right now. And watching the Eagles struggle the way they have throughout this season, it just would have been so much easier if we had the Flyers to fall back on, Carter Hart to fall back on, or if we had the Sixers to fall back on. when Simmons is on Houston, give Miles the ball 25 times a game? Well, yes. I think the Simmons to Houston thing is like, when you see how this team was built this offseason, it was pretty much built around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I will say this, and we've talked about it before, you'd be crazy to not think about shipping Ben Simmons for James Harden. You have to at least consider it. I don't care how much of a Ben Simmons fan you are. With Ben Simmons, you're hoping to get an MVP. With James Harden, you have an MVP. Now, my logic for the Ben Simmons James Harden thing is, and maybe this is cowardice, I see Ben Simmons as a guaranteed 10 years of stability. Especially given that he's got Joel Embiid alongside him for, let's be fair, about 4 more years of those 10. Probably got 4 good years out of Joel Embiid if you're lucky. With that's why you really got to consider James Harden, because between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, I mean, Doc Rivers said it himself, just the other night in the postgame, Joel Embiid is the best player on the court. Now you put him with James Harden, offensively, that's a deadly duo. Not even potentially. You have Harden all from any spot on the floor can shoot, and from underneath you have Joel Embiid. That's a nightmare to defend. Now, if you have Ben Simmons facilitating those two, it's championships. I think Harden to Philly is a pipe dream. But man, I want to smoke that pipe. I want to smoke that pipe. I personally wouldn't do Ben Simmons because, again, cowardice. I want the 10 years of stability. I think you can build a championship level team around Ben Simmons with or without shooting. I want to smoke that pipe too, right, Kev? Right? Like, if there's a crack pipe I gotta smoke to get Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and James Harden on the, I will take one for my city. And hell, there are unfortunately many people in the city that are paying to not get that to happen. But I digress. But now moving forward, yesterday's game, look, it was obviously game 1. But you saw, and I guess you guys may not have been able to hear me, you saw a Sixers team that had purpose on offense. You saw a Sixers team that had purpose on offense. And look, I liked Brett Brown. But if there was one thing that I and a lot of people complained about for his whole tenure, was this team had no purpose on offense. This team revolved around, okay, let's get it into the half court, and then let's get the ball in Ben's hands and let him make a play. There was no set, like you saw already, pick and rolls. You saw Embiid engaged in those pick and rolls, which rumor was he didn't want to be in the pick and rolls. Yet here it is, game 1 of preseason, and he's engaged in it. So maybe it was coaching. I just got a lot of backsplash on my face from that. Giggity. That's what she said. But, last night, as far as the Sixers go, we still didn't really see much of the shooting out of Simmons. Let's start with that, so chat can hear it and acknowledge it. but you had some good performances. You had a seemingly revitalized Tobias Harris. You had Embiid, who Doc Rivers was quoted in saying he didn't even run any plays for Joel Embiid, and he was still the best player on the court last night. He was still able to get 18 just by running the standard Sixers offense. Just by running this new standard Sixers offense. Tobias, 16 points. Simmons with 10. Now look, 10 points. If you need to get Simmons around 25 points, 20 to 25 points a game. So 10 points in 26 minutes. He's going to play around 35 to 40 minutes in the regular season. So in theory, that's on pace. Simmons seemed to be working on his refining his facilitating things last night. But we don't want to see that, especially in the preseason. And I'm part of this. We want to see Simmons be chucking up bricks. Like I want to see Simmons missing shots in the preseason. Get it all out of the way. More importantly, I want to see him making them. As far as the new guys go, Danny Green went 1 for 2 on his threes. And that was his only points. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what Matisse Thybulle's role is in this on this team, because Maxey looked good and confident offensively. So, he's going to be playing. He's going to be vying for playing time. You have, Green, who's going to be vying for playing time. Curry is even going to be at that. It's going to be interesting where Matisse Thybulle fits in. Shake looked good, 19 off the bench. So, that's my thoughts as far as the Sixers. I know you guys all want to talk to the Eagles, so just tell me. So we can talk about the Birds. But as far as the Sixers team goes and setting expectations, just to wrap it up a little bit, and then we can talk Eagles. So start getting your Eagles comments in now. I think that they should still compete for the Eastern Conference, much like last year. I think that they need to be at least in the top 4 of the East come season's end. But really, you got to make it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Maybe that's unfair with a new coach, but in my opinion, Doc should come here and just immediately elevate things, and it kind of looks like he did. Because Brett Brown's a good coach, but really he couldn't get anything going with this team offensively, and that is Doc Rivers' specialty. So in my opinion, and my personal expectations for the Sixers team is to compete heavily to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And really, I want to see this team get to the NBA Finals. You see a long run. That's a much different attitude you had than last year. And is that including with Ben Simmons, or do you see Simmons traded? But it's nice to see that you, under Doc Rivers, it seems like you have a little bit more confidence, and I feel that too. I certainly feel that. Day one, like listening to that press conference yesterday, was a treat. And again, I don't want to come off as a Brett Brown hater, because I'm not. But he didn't get the job done. He just didn't. I was many times called a Brett Brown defender. So, I think Embiid is going to dominate all over the floor. I think you're still going to see, and I hope this doesn't drive people nuts, but Doc Rivers is not going to take the 3 away from Joel Embiid, and nor should he. Taking the 3 away from Joel Embiid is sort of like telling Donovan McNabb to stop running. You're taking a tool out of his kit. And the thing about Embiid hitting the threes, first off, he shoots at a high percentage. He shoots at high 30s, low 40s. So that he shoots at a percentage that is, you want to see him get some shots. And not only that, when he hits a three, one or two during the game, or even if he's just taking them, you all know it. He does the fake, he gets a guy to bite, and he drives it and slams it home for an easy and sexy dunk. So the threes are necessary, but I agree. Dominate in the paint. He's not Shaquille O'Neal. He doesn't need to live in the paint, but he needs to dominate the paint. He is the best big man in the game, bar none. So there should be no one in the game that can really affect him. So that's where I stand on the Sixers. Feel free to get your expectations in. What's the bare minimum to be a successful season? Obviously, we all want a championship. We all want to at least see them get to the finals. We get that. What's the bare minimum the Sixers, because again, it's Rivers, and you really got to hit the reset button and put it on like a 2-3 year plan to see real success. But when you look at this team on paper, I think Richardson's going to be missed a bit. I'm still a little. Our good friend Greg put out a tweet when Josh Richardson was traded for Seth Curry, and he said, "Is this a good thing though?" And it's like, that was basically my same feeling. Like, Seth Curry's a good player. He's under contract for longer. But I also think Josh Richardson, if Josh Richardson's still here, him, Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, maybe even Maxey, you might be getting James Harden. I don't know that Seth Curry brings back that same trade value, and to be honest with you, I think that there's stipulations to you. I don't think you can just get a guy and then trade him. Like, he's been officially announced. He's playing now. So this can't be like it was a three-way deal. At this point, it would be two separate deals, and rules like that change a lot in the NBA, but the last I remember, I don't think you would be able to trade him. Shake Milton, just guys that have trade value on this team still, just to get back to that James Harden pipe dream. So speaking of pipe dreams, can the Eagles still make the playoffs? No, that's not even what this is about anymore as far as the Eagles go. But let's talk about the Eagles, Joe. I see you, Eastern Conference Finals. That's if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, it needs to be because there's an emerging dominant team in the East outside of the Bucks, and there's potential for that. The Heat have potential to do that. The Sixers have potential to do that. I guess the Celtics, but let's check this too. Let's see what the NBA odds are, and then we'll get into the Eagles. So please feel free to start getting the Eagles comments in. And it'll just it's got Brooklyn Nets. I don't know that the Nets, but I guess you got to think about the Nets, the Raptors. Like, if you're fans of those teams, we probably don't want to admit it, but you're probably in the same spot as the Sixers. And just so you know, just while we're talking about, let's see here. As far as Eastern Conference goes, you got Bucks at 550, Nets at 600, Celtics at 1,300, Raptors at 1,500. Like, the Sixers are plus 2,000. They're the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the 6th Eastern Conference team. Which is, I guess, what they finished, last year. Things to ponder. I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm being a fanboy here. I'm pretty sure the Sixers are better than the Raptors. I'm pretty sure the Sixers are better than the Celtics. I'm pretty sure the Sixers are going to be better than the Nets. The Heat are a really well-coached team with a star player in Jimmy Butler. I think the Nets are going to be like the Buccaneers of the NBA. I think they're just going to crumble, and it's going to be fun to watch. Okay. That's that. That's the Sixers talk. Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz. It's not about this season anymore. And if you're out there and you're already convinced about Jalen Hurts, please let me know. I'm dying to know everyone's opinion. Matter of fact, going to facebook.com/warroomphilly right now. Just to get more opinions. Just to get more. But, by the way, Oscar Lindblom, completely cancer-free, which is awesome. Oscar Strong. Very hesitant to get too excited. Yeah. So you like the way he plays. Not convinced, but proves that we can't have just Wentz. Why don't we have a little same game plan for Wentz? Yeah, good comments. So, and here's the quick answer. There wasn't too much different from the game plan, guys. I'm a Wentz fan, but all right, the running, like the designed run RPOs were definitely there more. But isn't, and maybe even this is on Carson. He doesn't want to take that many hits. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe the coaching staff doesn't want to. But haven't we all beat the Carson is injury prone thing down to the to the ground? I mean, I gotta be honest, guys. It was really fun to watch, but I don't really want to see my quarterback running 18 times. It was the same offensive plays. Hurts was just smarter with the ball, in my opinion. That's according to Nick. I don't know. I don't know that smarter. You might be right. I don't want to say you're wrong. But just to further the conversation, I don't know that smarter is the right answer. Because let's look at Jalen Hurts passing. 17 for 30, 167. The most impressive number about that is 0 interceptions. Now, he had the 1 fumble. I guess maybe the more important would be how many times was he sacked. Which, can I find that? 0. That is impressive. But 17 for 30, 167, where there was no deep ball. We saw a couple longer passes in the Green Bay game, but there was no deep ball. Yeah, sacked 0 times. That's impressive. And maybe the game plan was that much different. But again, I don't know that the offense didn't look all that much different in this game. The big difference was that they had a quarterback that ran for 100 yards. And that was what they call the spark. Now, Wentz is mobile, but Wentz isn't, if Wentz does all of the same things, if Wentz runs 100 or if Wentz runs 18 times, he's probably getting 56 yards? He's probably getting half of that. But that's still productive too. 56 to 75 yards out of your quarterback. Went against the best defense in the league, yes, but can we all agree that Saints team didn't really show up until the second half? I think we can all agree that Saints team didn't show up until the second half. And then when the second half came, the Eagles offense was stagnant. Only scored a touchdown in that fourth quarter when they needed it. But, sure, yeah, giving me one. I like that. So again, back to, here's the thing though. Hurts made quicker decisions, and then the fact that he's lightning fast really helped. And I think really what was pointed out, we keep talking about offensive line and this and that and running backs, and I think really right now the biggest problem with this offense is wide receivers aren't getting open. That's why it looks like Carson Wentz is holding on to the ball for too long at times. That's why, Jalen Hurts had to run the ball for 18 times, in my opinion. He went read, nothing there, go. Now, for Carson Wentz, he could do the same thing. Read, nothing there, get rid of the ball, or go. So, I just want to be fair as can be, covering all sides, because I'm on record a Wentz fan. I don't know if I'm on record as saying this, but I've always liked Jalen Hurts' game. I just hated the pick in the second round. Hated the pick in the second round. But I've always been a fan. I wanted him to win the Heisman last year. Big fan of his game. Like watching him play. He was exciting on Sunday. Look, I come from the school of Mike Vick. I come from the school of, let me do this with the controller and run outside with my quarterback. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts' game, but I don't know if a guy like Jalen Hurts can run the ball 18 times a game and make it through a season. I don't know if a guy like Carson Wentz can run the ball 18 times and make it through the season. That's not a shot at Jalen Hurts. I mean, does Kyler Murray, that's always the biggest thing with quarterbacks that take the ball that often. I mean, that's the biggest thing with running backs, because they get the ball 18 to 25 times a game. And that's why you see, more and more a tandem in place. But the offense as a whole did look better on Sunday, and against a good defense. And against a good team. And yeah, I really do believe that the Saints just came marching in and thought that they were going to just beat, a depleted Eagles team. And yeah, we've all heard that Doug Peterson is 11-3 without a quarterback named Wentz. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that record as well. His numbers can be a little skewed, but they're there, and numbers don't lie, right? That's what they say. So obviously this season it's set. We're going to see what Jalen Hurts has. Now, as far as the future goes, I guess if you, and I don't know what the cap hit would be, even if the Eagles could possibly still take a big penalty if they trade. If they trade Carson Wentz, they might still, it might be one of those things where they still take a big cap hit. And this is where it gets interesting in the not so good way. Because if you get all excited about Hurts, and the Eagles can potentially get a first-round pick for him, and it becomes murky. Because you're not going to get a number 1 overall pick for Carson Wentz. And that's the only way you move. Like, Carson Wentz was the number 2 overall pick. So to get something more than that, you're just looking at this like a stock market thing. It's going to be tough. Jalen Hurts was, albeit an overdrafted second-round pick. Maybe you get 2 2s, and I would kind of call that breaking even. 2 and a 3, maybe even still call that breaking even. I don't think you can get that. Even if Jalen Hurts lights it up, I don't know that you get that. I definitely don't think you get a 1. Just exploring all options with this thing. Because now, forget what we do from the rest of the season. That's going to be the biggest thing moving forward. I'm excited to see Hurts play, but I'm not confident he's the future. Nick, yeah, me too. Like, look, this season's a loss, right? And you mentioned the good. Let's go full circle back to that. Doug is 11-3. If Jalen Hurts comes in and look, there's 3 games left. What if he wins 2 out of 3 more of those games, making it 3 out of 4? I mean, he could potentially save Doug Peterson's job. He could potentially save Howie Roseman's job, which again, I think Doug has some room for coming back. To me, the easiest move in Philadelphia sports right now is firing Howie Roseman and then signing JT. Like, they're the easiest thing, and it's even easier for me to fire Howie Roseman than to sign JT. You guys know how much I've been banging the sign JT thing since the trade. I'm excited to see Hurts play, but I'm not confident he's the future, though. Back to that comment. Russ, what's up, too, by the way? Russ, I sometimes I just, like, I'm listening to sports talk or something, and I start going down conversations in my head, and I start thinking about things during the show, and I had something, I thought about you earlier, and now I can't remember what it was. It was like something along the lines of, I'm willing to give anything a shot, except for when Russ says 2 quarterback systems can work. It was like something like that, but it was more elegant. But let's go back to this. 18 would definitely be too many per game, although he didn't really take hits, and one deep ball would be too few, although if Reagor kept running, he'd still be running. Yeah, and again, they didn't really stretch the field at all as far as the deep game goes. Like the big play came off of that busted. I think that's the play you're talking about, that busted Reagor play. That wasn't a long pass though. That was just a big passing play. It was more off of the screen and a run after catch. If Hurts wins out, then all fingers are pointing as Wentz to blame. and it probably saves the jobs of Howie and Doug. But is that now? You're right. I agree. In fact, I would say it almost definitely saves both of their jobs. I agree with that. But is that the right thing, Nick? Because forget what they're going to do. Because we've seen this team make a plethora of bad moves since the Super Bowl. Forget what they're going to do. What's the right thing? Heart of hearts, gun to my head right now, I still think the right thing is Carson Wentz. Laugh at me if you will. Maybe I'm starstruck over the guy that I, scouted for Philly Influencer way back in the day. I can't believe that the regression is this real. And I personally think that moving on from a guy like Wentz could really haunt this franchise. And I don't feel that strong as a guy like Jalen Hurts. Polar, what up, by the way? It looks like a new name in chat. So if you haven't already, please give us a follow. But the way they change play calling styles when Hurts proves to me it's not all Wentz. I should have leaned on the run too far from. But see, here's the thing. A lot of people are acting like because Miles Sanders ended up with 115 yards, it fools you into believing that they ran the ball a lot, but Miles Sanders had an 82-yard run. The run game came from Jalen Hurts more than anything. So I'm saying that we've been kind of complaining that they're not throwing the ball downfield a lot with Wentz. They still didn't do that with Hurts. Really, the only thing different was that Hurts didn't get sacked. Hurts ran. Hurts used his speed and ran. That was the biggest difference in this offense. I want to sit here and say, oh, play calling was different, and I want to defend Wentz. You just heard me say all these, but I'm still going to keep it as fair as my eyes see it. So I know most of the things I've said probably sound damning to Wentz. So yeah, it feels weird for me to end all of those thoughts and then to be like, but I still think the right move is to bring back Carson Wentz. But I do, and that's not a front. I'm not trying to be like anybody that's followed the show knows. I've been high but fair on Wentz. Call me out if I'm wrong. I feel like I've called out many of Wentz's flaws all season. Probably 12 on Hurts runs were scrambles. Yeah. Not a lot of designed runs. Most of those were you saw wide. And again, this is, in my opinion, the underlying issue. Yes, the offensive line is an issue, but the biggest problem with this team right now is the wide receiving core. If Alshon Jeffrey doesn't get, if he doesn't, he pushes off on that touchdown, right? We all saw it. I don't know how that wasn't offensive pass interference, but he pushes off. Now he's open. It's the only way Alshon Jeffrey gets open anymore is on push-offs. I meant the bomb they missed on. Oh, okay. So I guess there was one deep ball. Need to see more than that though. I wanted to see Hurts play, but I didn't want them to win. rather the top 5 pick. Yeah. And I guess you can't really miss, like, even when Howie had the top 5, you got Lane Johnson. Who's been nothing but a rock. Oh, Polar, by the way, thank you for the follow, my man. And/or lady. Alshon broke his own ankles or the defenders? Because I'm not buying that he broke the defender's ankles. I'm just not. I'm sorry. He pushed his ankles. But no, here's the thing. Like, I get it. You're right. But I can't on Sundays root for the Eagles to lose. I just can't. I could do it for the Sixers. It was much easier over the course of, 82 games to watch a half and then kind of mentally tune out. Both. 4 ankles were broken on one play. I can't. You're right though. In the heart of hearts, the better, and because at this point, I think that the right move is to get, again, easiest move in Philadelphia sports, firing Howie Roseman. As far as Doug Peterson goes, if you lose out, it makes it a lot easier for me as a fan to go, okay, it's time to move on from that coach. He needs an offensive coordinator in here, but he seems stubborn to it. And the more that keeps butting heads, you're just going to have to fire the guy. And I don't know that I want Doug Peterson here if he's not playing, calling plays. And so that's going to be the thing that we kind of mull around in our heads throughout the rest of the season. I think as a fan base, we're all, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the fan base we're sort of divided in a lot of ways, but it feels like we're very united and everyone wants Howie Roseman gone. And the easiest thing for, again, everyone to point to is drafting. Howie Roseman has been the general manager of this team for a long time. Whether he was in the front of the office or the back of the office, his title was general manager. And man, throughout that time, he's had some really good hits, but for the most part, he's had a plethora of misses and reaches, and we'll see. I'm afraid of Hurts doing well, which causes us to trade Wentz to someone like the Pats, where I think he would thrive. Patriots, the Colts. Yeah, again, here's how I judge things in my mind. Just being fair. I look at it and I just realize I got no headphones. Which is probably why I didn't hear my follow sound. It has been all kinds of technical difficulties today, chat. But I'm glad I still saw it in the timeline for the follow. I judge things like this. Moving forward, the scale. Who do I fear? Like, same thing with Ben Simmons. Like trading Ben Simmons for James Harden. Yeah, James Harden, instant gratitude, right? But over 10 years of stability, over a guy that's, now they're saying it's selfish in Houston. But Wentz, Hurts. Look, I like Hurts' game, and I think that he can and probably will be effective in short spurts in the NFL. I just don't know about that guy over the long term. Whereas Carson Wentz, I think, may struggle in short spurts like he is now, like he did for, the first half of last season. But all in all, when he gets it right, he's a borderline MVP. I don't see borderline MVP in Jalen Hurts' game. I didn't see borderline MVP in Nick Foles' game, and hey, he managed the game to, you know, he managed, you know, the Super Bowl. He could manage games, and that's what Jalen Hurts did. Jalen Hurts managed that game. Short, quick passes. Everything Carson Wentz hasn't been able to do this year. Carson Wentz, look, how many times have I said Carson Wentz needs to go to Citizens Bank Park, go to second base, and learn how to throw from first base. Shift and just have Jalen Reagor out there catching passes. Everyone at first base while he's at second base. All different positions at second base. And then maybe even move him to shortstop. Carson Wentz right now, the worst thing about his game is the short and intermediate passes. That's why the offense looked so different. The offense looked different because Hurts was actually hitting on those short and intermediate passes. And that, to me, as a Wentz fan, is what's been most befuddling. Because it's like, all right, it's one thing if you're a little inaccurate on a deep ball, but homie can't throw a screen pass. That's a problem. You saw completed screen. That's probably why Miles Sanders felt like he was, used more. 4 catches. He actually caught the ball 4 times. Whereas in weeks past, there were screens that were intercepted. They were thrown so poorly. One was a pick 6. I mean, again, I'm a Wentz fan, but he has struggled this year. And you can say it's the offensive line, and I will say it is partially the offensive line. It is a big part in the wide receivers, but it's also because of Carson Wentz. Let's be real about it. Let's be real about it. Someone challenge me if I'm wrong. I think it's months of that Swiss cheese line. It's a brain thing for Wentz right now. He's skittish and he's taking a beating. I look again. I agree with that, but it's still on Wentz too. He is still the one skittish. Like you're right though. It's like why won't Ben Simmons shoot? Because when you watch him in practice, he's got a good form. He's draining them. But then he goes out on the court and he's so stubborn that he wants to be this facilitator. Now, Wentz, it's not a stubborn issue, but you're right. It's in between the ears. Polier? Is it Polier? Polier? Or if you're part of our Facebook family and want to go by like your Facebook name or anything, by all means, just let us know what you go by. If you notice, I refer to a lot of people by just like their name instead of saying QZ. Who's the chat below you? I call him Russ because I know the encodes, and I get to know my chat on a first name basis. So if you want to be one of those guys, feel free. By all means. I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing Polier right. I like that. But I agree. And back to Russ, your point. Let's read it here. It's definitely too soon to 100% favor Wentz or Hurts. Stopping right there, I agree. But the great news is I don't see any rush to trade either. Don't know if I agree with that last part. You might have to make that move this offseason. Especially... Oh, Pat. Okay. Facebook friends with Keith. Right on. And Keith couldn't be here tonight because... Keith has, been out there slaving for the USPS. Man's out there being essential AF. And with the snowstorm tonight, told him not to rush home just to do this show. I was like, look, let's all be safe. More important to have you here next week than this week. And, the next further weeks. But, what up, Pat? Nice to have you on the show. Love to see the family expand. But yeah, I think Keith and I, we were going to have some disagreements and then we were going to have a big agreement. And I think that what Keith and I strongly agree on is that the main problem with this team, Jalen Hurts is confirmation. It's the wide receivers. All you have to do, Jalen Hurts rushing 18 yards, 18 carries, 106 yards. %, can't have. I don't know. See, here's the thing. Wentz has got to get over the drama thing, too. At some point, you got to say, I don't care if it's Nick Foles, Jalen Hurts, I'm better than these guys and prove it. You're a quarterback in the NFL. Show me some chutzpah. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you know what pressure is? Pressure is playing against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And for as many maybe negative things as I said about Nick Foles showed up with that pressure. That's pressure. Beating the best quarterback of all time in the Super Bowl, throwing for damn near 500 yards. The whole team was involved in that win. That's pressure. Worrying about a regular season, looking over your shoulder at Jalen Hurts. My man was an overdrafted second-round pick. You were the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. You're a bona fide superstar. Do you need me in your corner being your hype man, Carson Wentz? Because I'll do it. I'll slap you upside the head, too, while I'm at it. Let's go, dude. You're better than this. I don't want to hear... Like, the drama thing shouldn't be an issue. If anything, it's got to be like. So here's the biggest issue, and Rush, I see you're getting into, so I'm gonna give this one out quick, and then I'll get into your chat. The biggest issue is right now the Eagles are going again, which is weird because Howie Roseman, he's a cat wizard, right? But he kept playing kick the can, and guess what? Next year the can comes back. And all these salary cap magic that he did, it's going to bite him in the ass next year. So, with Carson Wentz, if you bring Carson back, if you can possibly, look, his guaranteed money kicks in next year. If you can potentially get out from that contract now, then you're fine. But if you go into that next season and next season is a lot like this or worse, well then guess what? No one is touching Carson Wentz with a 10-foot pole. You're going to have to eat that contract. You're going to have to cut him. So that's why you got to make that decision now. Obviously, it seems to, and I'm glad I got that written because now we can kind of go back and forth because it looks like your comments are still based on this conversation, Russ. So obviously, it seems silly to have a $33 million backup. At least you still get reps. But unless Hurts flat out dominates the rest of the season, how can you confidently trade him away? I can't. For the record, but let's go back to part 2 of this. And Hurts is dirt cheap. So it's actually both versus Hurts, unless you can get Hurts an offer you can't refuse. Yeah, see, again, you're right. Hurts is cheap. You may in theory be able to do that, but there's no going back from Carson Wentz after next year. I don't think any team is willing to take a risk on Carson Wentz if he goes through another year like this. So just thinking about all possible outcomes. It's tough. It is a decision you probably have to make this offseason. Now, if Carson Wentz is the starter and Jalen Hurts is the backup, yes, you can afford that. And in theory, there's also a timeline where that happens and all works out in harmony. Maybe Jalen Hurts has got to play a couple games at the end of next year because, we're so ahead in the East that or the NFC that you could sit Wentz, can rest him. I guess there's a timeline where that plays out too, right? So I guess you don't have to rush to trade Hurts, but you have to rush to make sure Carson Wentz is your franchise quarterback. You're not really learning that by sitting him right now. So it's a lot to take in right now with this team. It really is. So that's really what this team, and that's what we're gonna be looking forward, to for the rest of the season is we're all gonna be general managers and figuring out what Jalen Hurts is and figuring out what this Eagles offense is. Look, it was exciting, but I don't think you can run a guy 18 times over a course of a season. I'm just not sure. Should be a fun little matchup within the matchup this week. You have Kyler Murray versus Jalen Hurts. Who will have more rushing yards? Who will have more passing? So, yeah, I think that about puts a bow on it, chat. And we got a really good discussion tonight, chat. You brought it. We got a new follower. Shout out to Pat. You guys were bringing it from different angles tonight, and I really love it. I appreciate it. I don't know, man. I thought it was gonna get a little contentious tonight. I thought I was gonna get called a Wentz defender or something. We all seem to be sort of in the same. We got different opinions, but it seems like my logic was reaching some people. It was a really, really fun show tonight, chat, as always. I don't think you guys realize just how much you really helped me out, especially on the solo shows. So I like step 1. Can you lower, or can you raise your mic? Step 1, like right off the bat, you guys helped me by giving me the technical difficulties. Shout out to Kev for that. But yeah, Kev, Joe, everyone was bringing it. Russ, bringing the fire tonight in chat, bringing it. So it's gonna be an interesting. You got 3 weeks left. You got the Cardinals up. They're up this week. So we'll see. We'll see what goes down then. And the 23rd, we should be able to get a show in next week. Should be able to get a show in. Maybe Sixers pregame. What time's that Sixers game? Yeah, Sixers at 7. Maybe we do a little Sixers pregame. Kev dropping the War Room Philly logo. Shout out to Jeff for making that logo and the emotes. Brotherly love united. Yeah, so hopefully, maybe we'll go Tuesday next week. Maybe we'll do an early Wednesday pregame into the Sixers with the holidays coming up later in the week. So stay tuned. Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly, Twitter @WarRoomPhilly, Instagram, all that. But Facebook.com/War Room Philly is where you go to get the updates. And we'll keep you posted as much as we can. Ideal world, we go pregame Sixers, 6 o'clock into the 7. But work, bills, food, showering, being a person might be a little harder to do. So I would say odds are it's a Tuesday show next week. But if not, it'll be pregame Sixers. Hey, man, Sixers regular season action is just a show away. And it's exciting to say. I know we did mostly Eagles talk today, but just wrapping it up, final thoughts. If you got anything random, get it in now. We can I'm in no rush to leave. So that's the other thing about solo shows is, I'll go long, it don't matter. So if you want to talk about literally anything at all right now, now's the time. But final thoughts from me, just putting a bow on this entire show, is it's weird with it's just crazy to me that we're getting Sixers basketball next show. Because it's like I've been dying for it because it should be here. But then because of everything that happened with COVID, obviously it's like a shortened off season. My man Maxey has had 2 practices with the Sixers, and he still goes out there and puts on the performance that he did the other night. I'm just excited about this team. I'm not championship excited, which is upsetting, but I'm excited because there's some youth. There's a new coach. Doc Rivers is a very good coach, very skilled offensive mind. And I think you saw that signature in just one game. And I hope you continue to see it throughout more. So just a level of excitement right now. And hopefully we turn one corner, there's basketball. Hopefully we turn that next corner and there's hockey. Got to get that whole Canada thing figured out right now. But yeah, you might be having a Canadian quarantine division this year, as Canada does not want to allow Americans into their country, which I understand. And yeah, we shall see. But yeah, hopefully we can figure out something for hockey. And then, ideally that's like the final thought for next week, is how excited we are for hockey. So yeah, guys, gals, in betweens. I got love for all my fans. I don't care. Thank you guys all for tuning in. It's been a blast. You guys are you're the true glue of this show, especially when I'm on my own. So I really appreciate it. Random. I think Beasley broadcast songs right now. Could be looking in the radio. Yeah. You know what? Radio job. I might make more doing this than radio. Yeah. I heard there's a morning spot that just recently opened up. Yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know what Beasley's doing, to be honest with you. It's not my business to talk about. I listen to both stations, but I mean anymore, I barely listen to either, to be honest, but I try to keep it fair and I flip around. But man, you can tell that 97.5 is getting cheap. It shows with all over their programming. That's unfortunate. But they have their own esports team. I do want to know that. I didn't know Beasley Media has their own. Let's see. Yeah, I guess they're just like their own. Oh, they got the Houston Outlaws. How about that? podcast too. Let's go. Russ, hit me up with some DMs. You got some ideas for me? I'm down. But no, I appreciate it, guys. It's been a blast. On that final note, I'm gonna head on out of here. But one more time, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If by some chance you guys don't get to catch this next week, I hope you guys all have a happy and healthy holiday. You know, and just in general with the weather out there right now, stay safe. Wait until the roads clear up, then get out there. So on that note, thank you guys all for tuning in, both live and on demand. Shout out to my YouTube crowd. I am Anthony Pinto, and on that note, we are out of here.